roaring great service since 1972 with Sunglow.
Hey everyone, David, Sunglow Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical, where we have been providing roaring great service since 1972. And today I am joined by my friend, by our field supervisor on the service side, LaShawn Williams. LaShawn,
how's it going?
Thank you so much for joining us here today. And today I want to talk about something that is super exciting, super fun for all those of you who are watching YouTube and you're caught in that death scroll. You somehow, the algorithm has pointed you to us, so congratulations.
Thank you.
But today what we're going to talk about is air conditioners and the leading causes of failures for air conditioners. And we're going to cover about 7 different things that will cause a mechanical failure in your air conditioning system. And we're going to start with the number one, and the number one cause is
our air filters.
Air filters.
You know, with the dirty air filters, your system's gonna exert a lot of energy trying to get some air down those ductworks for you. So just make sure you guys are changing out your air filters quite frequently. If you have animals in the house, I'd recommend roughly every 3 months. Typically, you can get away with 6 months, but just make sure you guys are keeping a close eye on those air filters.
Okay, so without mentioning any names, because Sunglow's got a lot of customers out there.
That we do.
Thousands and thousands of customers. Some may say billions. Not billions, but thousands. Tens of thousands. The absolute worst customer, without mentioning names, in terms of filter condition. Go.
Once again, no names mentioned. No names mentioned.
Yeah, we didn't mention names there. In case you don't know, I am one of the owners here at Sunglow, and I will admit that having been in the HVAC industry literally my whole life, started when I was 14 years old, the thing that I don't pay any attention to is my HVAC system. And so, LaShawn, you've been doing maintenance for us. How bad was it?
It was pretty bad, David, I'd have to say. I mean, when you can put a filter on a scale and actually register a weight on it, that tells you probably haven't changed that filter anytime recently.
So I'm going to say to you out there in the land of YouTube, don't be like an HVAC business owner. Stay on top of your filter changes, and we'll talk about maintenance here in just a few moments, but it is absolutely critical. And I know it's critical. It's just you get caught up in your day-to-day tasks, and it's easy to forget to do it, which is why now we have LaShawn and others at our company doing regular maintenance on our systems.
Potentially. So it's going to be along with like user error, making sure that you have your thermostat in cooling mode. And then once you set it in the cooling mode, make sure you set the appropriate temperature that you want your house to achieve.
Yeah, that's kind of important. So if you want your house to be 72, but your thermostat's set at 76, you telling me it's not going to just miraculously come on?
I mean, it may if you get a hairdryer and heat your thermostat up for quite some time. It will definitely turn on. It's going to short cycle really quickly once that hairdryer is removed.
Now, I think even you, who have been a service technician for a really long time, have had an experience with this.
I've turned the thermostat on roughly 20 minutes later, trying to figure out why the AC wasn't turning on. Well, long and behold, I never set the temperature to the correct temperature that it needs to be.
Right, so you flipped it over to cool, and you're like, okay, it should just kick over.
Just walked away and then realized that I was sweating for no reason. All on the account of my own.
That is a problem. So again, we want to make sure, number one, we've got batteries.
Correct.
If we don't have batteries or the batteries are getting lesser in their charge, you're going to see the screen is going to dim a little bit. We want to make sure that the thermostat is switched over to cool, and then we want to make sure that the temperature is set for the proper temperature. So again, if you want it at 70 degrees, you're setting it for 70 degrees. Can I touch on one thing on thermostats real fast?
Yes, sir.
We hear a lot of talk about, should I set my temperature way warmer in the middle of the day to save energy? Can you touch on that?
There's no necessary need to set it way warmer and the need to conserve energy. Just find that honey hole. So what I do at my personal place is I set it for 72 degrees during the summertime. That way it just stays 72.
And you just leave it.
Just set it and forget it.
Right.
That is like a crock pot.
Right. That is 100%. The best way to heat and cool your home is to not have wide swings of temperature. That is actually something that's going to cause the equipment to work harder. It's going to lead to mechanical failure. Everyone's like, well, Isn't it harder for the system to just continue running throughout the entire course of the day? No. The answer is no. Never. It's very much similar to driving down a freeway in your car and putting your car on cruise control, right? Like you're just maintaining constant RPMs. It's just doing its thing versus going into Portland and stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. The wear and tear on your system is catastrophic ultimately. On top of that, to have the thermostat be set warmer during the middle of the day and then the afternoon here in the Pacific Northwest, sun sets to the west, homes are cooking all day long. To try and overcome that temperature is just not realistic. So I recommend if you're gonna set it for a little bit warmer, 1 to 2 degrees. I know that seems ridiculous, but you really want to drive comfort and you want to drive energy efficiency of your system. Set it and forget it. All right, let's jump into maintenance. That is another one of our leading causes of AC failure, so lack of maintenance. Talk to me, why is lack of maintenance important for our viewers?
So with the lack of maintenance on your house or your HVAC system, just like a lack of maintenance on your cars, as David expressed earlier today, the more you off-put your maintenance on your system, the more chances that you have for catastrophic failures. Blower motors, compressors, condenser fan motors, or even sometimes electrical failures. This can all be caught in a simple maintenance. We come out there, do our maintenance, and then we overview your entire system for you, and then we'll give you a good standing of what your system's supposed to look like. And we can also potentially save you from any future repairs in the future.
That's what I love about our maintenance, is because you'll hear some HVAC companies like, oh, we do a maintenance and it's $89, and we know that that is not a maintenance. We know that that is maybe, if you're lucky, a quick health check. Maybe if you're lucky. Our full-blown maintenances are not that. We are going in and we're diving deep into these systems. What I like to tell customers, when we do a maintenance, we try to bring that piece of equipment, whether it's indoor or outdoor, as close to the factory spec level as the day it rolled off the manufacturing floor. And in those things, we are changing, as LaShawn talked about, we're going to change your filters. So if you're like me, like this guy, the HVAC business owner, who doesn't change his
Don't
filters.
be like this guy.
Although I did change my filter for the first time in a long time myself.
Years.
And I have 2 dogs and now 2 cats. We change your filters. We're checking refrigerant charges. We're checking capacitors. We're checking contactors. We're checking all the things that we're going to cover in the future of this video. And it is not just hey, system is good. We are ensuring that your system is good. And that you're not going to have those mechanical failures. All right, so lack of maintenance. Next, let's get into another mechanical failure that can happen, and that is failed capacitors.
Yeah, capacitors fail out more frequently than you would actually imagine.
Well, let's start, because I didn't ask you the question. What is a capacitor?
So a capacitor is like a supercharged battery pack that assists your compressor or your condenser fan motor or your blower motor in starting. So without that guy able to assist, your system is going to draw an excessive amount of amps just trying to start that compressor, condenser fan motor, or your blower motor itself. So essentially, the capacitor is just there to assist with alleviating a high starting load.
And we recommend customers not try to remove these themselves.
Definitely do not try to remove those yourselves, as high voltage is going through the capacitors, and they're like a battery bank, so they kind of store power.
Store a lot of power.
For roughly 35 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
So even if you take the wires off, it is still not safe to grab those things.
Right, and it is definitely a cause of electrocution. So we recommend staying away from capacitors, but we want you to understand what a capacitor is in case one of our technicians, or if you hire some other company, comes out and says you had a failed capacitor. Understand what it is and the purpose that it's serving. All right, so next, while we're on the topic of electrical systems, we have fuses in our AC systems. Where are those located, and do those fail?
So typically our fuses are located at the outdoor disconnect box.
Right, that lever.
Yeah, it's in the little gray box right behind the AC or heat pump, whichever it is that you have. There's usually 2 fuses on there if you're standard residential. And those things do tend to fail pretty frequently. Number one cause on failures of those things is a lack of maintenance, once again. So what happens is your compressor goes to start up. You got a really dirty coil So your compressor's overworking itself, your condenser fan motor's overworking itself. It's trying to overcome that impacted coil, therefore exerting more energy through those windings and the overall load on the high electrical side. So what'll happen is that the fuse inside the disconnect box can blow. Therefore, you'll have a loss of power to that AC unit, and then you'll be calling and saying that you have no cooling. And then it could be something as simple as just the fuse on
the fuses. Again, when we're talking the electrical system of a AC and even of a gas furnace, we strongly advise someone without a background in electrical work to steer clear of this. This really is a danger to your health. This is why we have shock hazard stickers on everything. It's just not something to mess around with. Fuses, again, we're dealing with high voltage, high amperage, 5-ton AC is typically going to be around 50 amps. You're usually going to have 50 amp fuses in there. This is stuff that you want to hire a trained professional like Sunglow to take care of. All right, again, continuing on the topic of electrical, we have this thing called a contactor, and I'll explain what a contactor is. So a contactor is it's how the energy transfers. So the thermostat calls for cooling. It closes the contactor, which then allows the voltage to continue down the electrical circuit to eventually make its way to the compressor, to kick off the compressor to do what an AC does. Contactors, do they fail?
They do. They fail in multiple different ways.
Let's hear what ways.
So we can either have a what we call a pitted close contactor, which then the contactor is just constantly closed at all time. So whether your thermostat's calling for heat or cool, that unit outside is just constantly running.
So if you're in cooling mode, if you're a deer hunter and you're supposed to hang your deer and dry it before taking it to the butcher, your house could become a meat locker, and you might like that
very quickly.
But apart from that, most people don't like their house trying to heat down to 40 degrees. So and that is just from ultimately a compressor or a contactor just being worn over time, and it is just permanently closed. Okay. Now there is an odd way that contactors fail, and what is that?
Typically, there could be something inside of the contactor. So by something inside of the contactor, there's two blades, one on the top that plunges down once it gets an electrical charge.
Typically two copper plates that are touching and completing the circuit.
Therefore allowing the electrical flow to go through.
So if I stick my finger in between and the contactor is not...
It's not going to feel too good.
No, it probably won't feel too good. And it will not allow the AC to...
It will not allow the AC to turn on.
So let me ask you a question. I have, in my younger years of being an HVAC business owner, I've been a service technician. You've been a service technician. What is the weirdest thing you've ever found stuck in a contactor to where that AC isn't working?
I'd say a snake.
God, jeez.
Those things like to hibernate in areas where it's nice and warm, and I don't know how they make it in there, but they definitely make it into the contactor.
I'm like freaking Indiana Jones scared level of snakes. So if that happens to me, you're going to hear someone shrieking on the side of your house and running the opposite direction. Yeah, so snakes get caught in there. The craziest thing I think I've ever seen is a fried mouse. Again, there's voltage running through this, so it's like an electric chair. Sometimes mice will get up in there. They'll work their way in through, and as that contactor comes closed, they're trying to complete the circuit, and that's not exactly a good thing for the livelihood of an animal. Yeah, sometimes you'll see some other things, such as...
Yeah, we can get some minor insects and stuff of that nature inside of these things, especially in our rural areas where, farmlands, there's a lot of weird bugs out there. They like to kind of go up in there and congregate inside the electrical compartment just because of the warmth of it.
Yeah.
So
one of those is stink bugs. I think all of humanity is trying to figure out what the point of a stink bug is. But again, you see those oftentimes in the rural side. And stink bugs are drawn to heat. That's why you'll typically find them on the south to west facing sides of your house rather than the north, because they like the warmth of those walls as they heat up. So they're drawn into outdoor units, and you'll see them stuck in those contactors. Contactors, again, electrical component. We don't recommend you trying to clear those out yourself. Hire Sunglow. We'll get out there. We will clean the carcasses of insects
Or
rodents, and yes, we will even clean the snakes. I won't, but our crew will. All right, next potential failure is refrigerant charge. So walk us through the importance of refrigerant charges, how you can detect those possibly early, and what we can do to make sure that those systems are running optimally.
Gotcha. So refrigerant charge is very important on the key aspect of the system operating perfectly. With a low refrigerant charge, David, you'll have a loss of cooling capacity or a loss of heating capacity if it's a heat pump system. With the overcharge system, you'll also exhibit a loss of cooling or heating capacity. The downside to the loss of charge or low charge on the system is it'll overheat your compressor. So what the system does is it uses the refrigerant itself to help the oil migrate back to the compressor, which keeps the pistons inside the compressor nice and lubricated, and then the refrigerant keeps it nice and cool. On the other side, when you have a system that's overcharged, you got liquid coming back to your compressor. Compressors don't compress liquid, therefore you can go into a catastrophic failure on the mechanical side for that side of things.
So both a low charge and an overcharge is not ideal for compressor health. And for those of you who don't really understand what a compressor is nothing more than an engine in your car. And we're just transferring refrigerant from one place to another. It is something that you absolutely need to stay on top of. Again, I like to always equate things back to vehicles because I think most of us understand vehicle maintenance and the importance of doing maintenance on your vehicle because you don't want to be stranded or stuck on the side of the road, right? No one wants that. I know that most people don't want that day where it's 117 degrees and their system stops working. Can we keep an eye on this when we do maintenance for our customers?
This is one of the key things that we actually check during our maintenance, especially on the heating side or the cooling side. Cooling side, especially when you get those high temperature days, you always want to make sure that your pressures are in adequate operating ranges. That way we're not dealing with these catastrophic issues.
Can I touch on one thing that is kind of a hot button topic for our company and should be for every company? The topper off method is, I hear a lot of, and still in this day and age, I cannot believe that companies do this. They come out every year like their AC is a car and they top her off. Let's just top her off. Let's just throw some more refrigerant in this beast and top her off. Are we supposed to be doing that?
Technically not. If we're topping off a system continuously year after year after year, there's a bigger underlying issue.
And what is that issue?
Usually that issue results into a leak in the system. There's no reason why we should be replacing refrigerant into a system continuously year after year after year. So our goal once we see this issue is let the customer be aware of the situation and then present them with an estimate for getting a leak search done on that unit. That way we can pinpoint the location of that leak, and then they won't have to worry about topping off at all.
In fact, I'm going to take it a step farther. Not only do we strongly advise against topping off, there is a federal agency called the Environmental Protection Agency, and if you are hiring a contractor who just year after year keeps topping off your AC system, they are actually breaking federal law. This is leading to ozone depletion, and regardless of what we're not a political company, but regardless of what anyone says, it is leading, refrigerants do lead to depletion of ozone, and the Environmental Protection Agency has laws and regulations around what we can and cannot do. And so we're going to strongly advise if you have hired a contractor and they're like top her off every year that they come out, we've got a bigger issue with the system that needs to be addressed. And Sunglow is the company. We come in, we do it right, we find the leak. If it's a catastrophic leak, we're going to tell you it's probably time to replace the system because those leaks can be in some pretty precarious positions. If it's something that's easily fixed, we're going to show you exactly where that leak is at, and we're going to get the system fixed. And you're not going to have that cost. And the other thing is, when you continue to top off a system, you're just wasting money at that point. It's completely pointless. And the cost of most of our refrigerants, are they going up or down, LaShawn?
Yeah, it's like the stock market, except our stock market only goes up.
It's just like
it's just straight to the moon.
Just straight up. And so every year you're seeing an increase in the cost of that refrigerant that you're putting in the system. Hire Sunglow, do it right the first time, and we're going to fix that system, and you're not going to have to do that in the future. So This is why I love our crew. Our crew is honest. They follow the rules and the regulations as set out by the federal and state levels, and we do fantastic work. All right, that's enough on refrigerant charges. Let's cover the last mechanical failure that we see often, and that is motors. We have 2 motors in our AC system. So walk us first with the condensing fan motor. What is a condensing fan motor? Where is it located?
So a condensing fan motor is located on your outdoor piece of equipment. I know sometimes when you have a heat pump, you'll hear people say that's not a condenser.
Yeah.
It's a condensing fan motor. The purpose of the condensing fan motor is to expel off the hot air from inside your house in cooling mode and expel off the cold air in your house in the heating mode. So essentially what those motors are doing is they're extracting all the hot air from the refrigerant side of things.
Exactly.
Without that motor operation, then your compressor's just sitting there moving refrigerant without expelling any heat off of it whatsoever.
So we've got a condensing fan motor, then we have one other motor, and where's that located?
That's going to be our blower motor, which is also can be found inside either your furnace or your fan coil at the indoor portion of the house. So this is the motor that moves the airflow around inside your house and throughout your duct system. Those things do tend to fail as well. Once again, dirty filters can cause excessive strain on those motors. Too many registers being closed off.
Yes.
Dirty ductwork as well can cause that to have issues with the motors itself.
Yeah.
There's one other caveat to the motor side of things, and that is a dirty indoor coil. Like a lot of people don't look at the indoor coil. You know, they're like, hey, my filter was just replaced, it was clean. That means my coil's clean. That's not necessarily always the case, David.
Right, 100% agree with that. And you don't know, I mean, how many years that coil has been in there and what kind of strain it has had throughout the course of time. So again, if we stay on top of filter changes from the day that the system is installed, the indoor coils will stay clean. But we know most people, filters are like that flossing at the dentist. You go into the dentist and you're like, hey, how are things looking? And the hygienist is like, well, how often are you flossing? And you're like, oh, I floss all the time. And the reality is you flossed the day before you came into the dentist.
And the morning of.
Yeah, and the morning of. Your gums are all bloody, and they're like, yeah, we know which filters are absolutely critical to that overall health. And then I want to just touch briefly on explaining what an air conditioning system is doing, because there's a lot of misconceptions that, and understanding these motors and what their function is important. So in air conditioning, we're not actually blowing cold air into a space, right?
Correct.
These, between the refrigerant in the system, which we covered how important the refrigerant charge is, and the motors, essentially what we're doing is we're removing heat from an indoor space and we're expelling it to the outdoors. And if you have a heat pump, the inverse of that, I think the inverse is the right word, the flip side of that is also true. So if in a heat pump, we're drawing heat from the atmosphere and we're transferring that into our home. That's why heat pumps are so incredibly efficient in the Pacific Northwest, where we maintain fairly moderate temperatures. But when you're in cooling mode, what we're really trying to do through our return air in our ductwork system, we're drawing air through that return air past that coil that hopefully you're staying on top of cleaning or you're having someone to do the maintenance. We're pulling it through the refrigerant system. The refrigerant is actually capturing the heat. It is displacing through the refrigerant lines. And as that heat is coming back through that outdoor evaporator coil, that motor is lifting the heat and expelling it out into the atmosphere. So it's absolutely critical that these fans are functional, that they're fully functional, that they don't have restrictions. And so definitely something that we see a lot of failures on. Well, LaShawn, I think that really wraps up kind of our top 7. I know we covered compressors a little bit in there, so that was your 8th one. So let's just do a recap on the things that we know are mechanical failures or our top failures in air conditioners. So we have filters. We have thermostats, we have lack of maintenance, we've got failed capacitors, we have fuses, we have contactors, we have improperly charged systems, and then we have motors, and thrown in the midst of all that is kind of the core and the backbone of the entire system, which is the compressor. All of these things, these top 7, really will lead into that last component of a failed compressor, and that is unfortunately the catastrophic kind of final straw of a cooling system. If it's not under warranty, we're going to strongly recommend do not spend money replacing a compressor, replace the entire system. get with today's current refrigerants, and don't have to worry about it for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So LaShawn, I love doing this in all my videos. I just want to, number one, say thank you for being a part of this team.
No worries. Thank you, sir.
Sunglow is a family. We love you. We truly have loved seeing you grow in this company and really help elevate our level of customer service. You have a heart very similar to mine, that we just want to take good care of people and see people's lives improved every single day. So thank you for being a part of this team. Thank you for helping lead the rest of our service technicians out there in the field. We greatly appreciate you. I appreciate you sitting down and covering ACs with me. We'll do much more videos together. I want to thank you. We want to thank you for tuning into Sunglow and finding out what the top mechanical failures are in air conditioning systems. Remember, if your system does fail and you're in the Portland metropolitan area, Sunglow is here. We've been in business since 1972, taking exceptional care of our customers. So whether it's a mechanical failure, electrical failure, plumbing failure in your house, Sunglow provides all of the services in heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical. We are here. We're your one-stop shop. We are the company who is still locally and privately owned. Not all companies can say that. In fact, the vast majority of companies no longer can say that. But Sunglow is still the company that gives back to the community, that gives to our staff and our employees. We believe in elevating others, and we are proud of that fact. So if you're having any failures throughout your home, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, do not hesitate to call Sunglow. We are the locally owned company where we have been providing roaring great service since 1972, and we will see you on our next video.
Roaring great service since 1972 with Sunglow.